What's up everyone, OJ here, welcome back to another video. We've got some good topics to go over, so let's go ahead and get right into it. And we're starting off with Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. Bloodstained lag frame of the night. Bloodstained, we should have prioritized this version of the night. So as all of you guys might know, or maybe you guys don't know if you're a new subscriber, I'm a pretty big Castlevania fan, and I've been really looking forward to Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. Now, when I originally Kickstarter on this game, there was no Nintendo Switch. There was a Wii U though, and it was supposed to come to that system, but it never did. Ended up switching over to the Switch, but I ended up buying the PC and the Xbox One version. But here's the thing, guys. Recently, this game launched for the Nintendo Switch, and that version's in a little bit of shambles when it comes to things. Now, is it playable? Yes, sure. Are there frame rate problems? Yes, but it's still playable. You can get through it. It's not an NBA, WWE, or not NBA, like, not NBA, WWE 2K18 type of situation. It's nothing like that. So it's still playable, but the Digital Foundry stuff came out, and the game is actually kind of just like struggling in some areas. The graphics have been pared down, some stuff has been removed. But the interesting thing about all of this is that recently the sales numbers are starting to kind of come out, or at least just the sales ranking position. And in the UK, Bloodstained Ritual of the Night on the Nintendo Switch sold more than the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One versions of the games combined. So the PS4 and the Xbox One version didn't even match what the Switch did, despite in the UK, the PS4 and the Xbox One, when you combine their install bases together, have a massive lead over the Nintendo Switch. So right there, what does that tell you? Before we even get into the other stuff, obviously people were looking forward to this old school style because of the older games, right? You have the DS trilogy. You also have the 3DS game. That's also one of the systems, but it first was on the 3DS in terms of like Mirror of Fate or something like that. And you also have like the GBA, right? Some of the best Castlevania games of all time have been on Nintendo platforms. Even if you want to go back to old school Castlevania, because Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, it is a Metroidvania, Symphony of the Night type of game. It is not like an old school Castlevania like the NES. It's not quite like that game. But even if you want to go back to that, those were very popular on the NES and everything. So we all knew, or at least most people knew, that the Nintendo Switch was probably going to be the best-selling platform for this game. But we didn't know it was going to be this much, and especially in an area like the UK, where traditionally not so great to Nintendo systems. Been doing much better. Mario Maker 2 actually led up the sales in there, but we just know that UK has always been kind of more like a Sony type of area, especially in this generation. So looking at that, and then also looking at the Bloodstained sales in terms of what we've gotten from Japan, the preliminary results from there, it's definitely looking like it's going to be a clean sweep in most areas, that Bloodstained Ritual of the Night is going to outsell the PS4 and Xbox One versions of the game, either together in some areas or individually when it comes to platforms. So that kind of begs the question here, is like, why wasn't the Switch version prioritized more than what they did? I think that they got the classic scared when it comes to Switch versus PS4 and Xbox One. They see the huge install base and they say, well, since it's the biggest install base, we have to make sure that the game is prioritized the most on these platforms. And since the Switch came in 2017, they probably got dev kits right around that time when they're going to switch it over. So that doesn't give them much time to make the Switch port of the game. If you look at it, I remember backing this game back in the day on the Xbox One, guys. Check this out. In 2014. Okay, so it's been multiple years since this game has been around, and they've probably been working on the PS4, Xbox One, and PC versions of the game for so much longer than the Switch version. I think that's what happened. Plus, they had outside studios helping out. However, I do think that they still should have prioritized them more. I personally feel that resources should have been pushed more to there in terms of Bloodstained on the Nintendo Switch than even the Xbox One version. Even though they started developing it beforehand, most people on the Xbox One aren't probably going to go out there and buy Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. The Switch version should have been prioritized a lot more, and I think that that is a big mistake that probably cost them a lot of sales, because if the Switch version was quality, you would have had everyone saying, okay, well, the Switch version maybe doesn't look as good, but hey, the frame rate is right up there, the graphics are still pretty comparable, okay, not bad. Like Crash Team Racing, for example, right? The frame rate's pretty much all around the same, 30 frames per second. It looks really good despite being pared back. It's still a good version of the game, so people feel confident buying it, and I'm pretty sure that Crash Team Racing is going to be one of the top sellers on the Switch platform, despite having such a lower install base in the PS4 and being maybe right around even with the Xbox One. So I honestly feel that they should have done a better job on it. Now, here's the good news with the game. They have stated that they are going to have multiple patches, smaller ones, released to help fix things out, but it's just a shame that they couldn't have the version better than what it was at launch, because I think there was so much more sales that they could have got considering how much people bought the game. But it is what it is, guys. So what do you guys think about Bloodstained Ritual on the Nintendo Switch? Selling more than the other versions of the game so far in terms of the areas that we do know of? And do you think that they're going to fix this fast? Are you enjoying your copy of Bloodstained Ritual of the Night on the Nintendo Switch or other systems comparatively? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. All right, guys, moving on to the next topic here. We have a very interesting article when it comes to Sony and what they think about Nintendo and going forward. And I do want to preface this by saying that this is a Sony official, okay? It's not anybody that has a name or a face. Sorry, not a name. They have a name, but we didn't know about the name. But has a face to the name. So this was apparently a Sony official in a recent investors call or meeting. They were talking about what's going to be going down for the next generation. And it looks like the next generation, or the PlayStation 5, is going to be a really souped up PS4. So it's going to be a souped up PS4 Pro. There's going to be high fidelity graphics. They're looking at reducing loading times, looking at 4K, 60 frames per second, all stuff like that, right? In terms of gameplay innovations, not really seeing too much there, but at the same time, it is what it is when it comes down to it. Now, Sony wants to focus on the big blockbuster games, and it seems like smaller devs are being pushed away. At least that's the initial reports, okay? So if you look at the censorship, and then you also look at what's going on with some of the reports from smaller devs saying that they're pushing us away, it seems like Sony's definitely going for that hardcore Western focus, making sure that like Bethesda, Ubisoft, Activision, EA, all of them get prime time slots when it comes to positioning and the store and everything, and there's games that are spread across. So I think that's what's going on here, and that's Sony's strategy. That's fine, that's Sony's strategy. However, what I found interesting with all this is that in that same type of thing, they talked about how their competitors necessarily aren't Nintendo, that their competitors are going to be Google and are going to be Microsoft. Those are going to be their competitors. And it's interesting because last year they said almost pretty much the same opposite. There was one of their chief financial officers that said, oh, well, we have to start looking at the Nintendo Switch based on how well it's doing. And that makes sense. Nintendo Switch is an entertainment device out there in the video game industry. It's selling a lot. It's doing some good things. It's getting some of the games that come on PS4 also come on the Nintendo Switch. So it makes sense. We're going to start looking at this. However, that's not the case. Apparently, with an official saying that, no, they're not competitors. We kind of see it towards the younger audience. So they're going back to the whole younger audience thing. This is a strategy that they employed, not really that great, but they employed this strategy in the DS versus PSP days. Oh, well, that's just for kiddos and stuff like that. Now, they're kind of doing the same thing again here. The only problem with them saying that because they're not competitors with Nintendo because of the younger audience, or that the Switch is skewed towards the younger audience, all of the data that has came out says that no, that's not the case. Nintendo has talked about their demographics. Everyone's kind of seen that on there. If you look at Nintendo channels, a lot of the demographics are going to be people in the 16, 17, or 18 range to up to 40 something range. You're getting a lot of NES kids that have grown up that are getting the Nintendo Switch. You've got a lot of N64 kids that have grown up and are getting the Nintendo Switch. And you've got a lot of parents that are buying Switch for their kids or letting them play their own Switch. We've got a lot of guys like me, once again, NES kids, growing up and playing the system, or guys that came back after the GameCube. So if you were a young kid when the GameCube came out, you're going to be, you know, in your early 20s and something like that, and you're picking up a Switch now. So the demographics are out there. So to say that, oh, well, we're not in competition because it's a younger skewed audience is deceptive. Is deceptive to say the least. Here's the real reason why I think that they're not trying to put that in there, because they know by the time that the PlayStation 5 launches, the Nintendo Switch is going to be at around probably 60 million, 50 million if this Nintendo Switch mini thing and all of that kind of comes into fruition here, which we'll talk about in just a bit. But like, if all of that kind of comes into fruition and everything plays out, it's looking like the Nintendo Switch is going to be at 50 million plus easily by the time that the PlayStation 5 comes out. And people are going to start comparing it. Whoa, they've got a big lead on you when it comes down to it. They don't want to be compared to that. They'd rather be compared to the systems that are launching more recently, or the systems that are pretty much have no shot in terms of getting mainstream, which is like Google Stadia. Obviously, the Google Stadia, I don't think that's going to become something that's going to be crazy, that's going to take over the PlayStation fan base. And of course, they're going to be worried about Microsoft. But once again, Microsoft is going to be starting over with the Xbox Scarlet, and it's much easier to be compared against that than compared against a juggernaut that already has 50 million plus sales. So I think that's the real reason why they're going in that area. I mean, we've seen Sony do weird different things when it comes to preferential treatment with their censorship and stuff like that. Atlas can still do logos and certain things and not get censored because they make exclusive games like Persona for PlayStation platforms, whereas like other developers like the Omega Labyrinth developers, yep, they can't do stuff like that. They have to censor out logos completely, in which Nintendo has talked about how they don't like the censorship stuff like that. So it just kind of seems weird to me that Sony's just trying to get as far away as possible because they kind of see what the writing on the wall when it comes to this Switch concept, and they're gonna know, and I think that they're going to see that the price of the Switch could be so low by the time that the PlayStation 5 comes out, it doesn't make, at least in their own opinion, it doesn't make business sense to be compared to Nintendo, because they're going to be losing quite badly at that time, because it's going to be a brand new system. So obviously that's going to be the case there. That's my theory on it. Because literally last year they said the complete opposite. They said that, oh yeah, we got to start looking at them as competitors and all that, and now you're changing your mind. But then once again, this is an official, he does not have an actual name, this is an official from a report, so you guys can check it out and you guys can kind of make your own decisions on that. So what do you guys think about that? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Alright, now moving on to the last topic here. Once again, this Switch Mini rears its mini head again when it comes down to stuff here. So there was an official shot of a case from the same place, that all rhymed, that was all great, right? That was good. That all kind of leaked different stuff before. So like the Xbox One S SAD edition or the Xbox SAD edition, it leaked shots of that, and that same place is now leaking shots of this Switch Mini case. So a lot of people are leading to believe that this is going to be a real thing. And I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but I do want to talk about the Switch Mini just a bit. We talked about it before in my last article. I still feel that there's going to be a Switch higher end version, like a new Nintendo Switch, right? Like a new Nintendo 3DS, whatever the case is. I still think there's going to be that. And there's going to be a Switch Mini, a Switch Pocket, a Switch smaller version in order to reduce the size of the system and reduce the price of the system by reducing the Joy-Con components to it, making it a connected regular controller. Kind of like this nifty PS Vita that I have right here that I've already done a video on, and make sure you guys can check that out too, right? It's in the description below. But yeah, I think that's what they're trying to do when it comes to this Switch Mini type of thing. Nintendo wants to greatly expand the audience. They want to get it in the hands of a lot more kids, because right now they're seeing a lot of adults are buying the system, so they want to get it in the hands of a lot more people. Well, how do you do that? Well, reduce the price and also make it more durable, make it more kid proof. And I think that with Pokemon coming out, I think that's going to happen. And it looks like this is going to have a regular D-pad based on that. So that's one observation that a lot of people are like, yes, you know, no more buttons on there when you play handheld mode. So this could be something that can be big once it does launch and we kind of see what they do with it. We'll see if there's any type of revisions with the hardware and like what it has in terms of the Tegra X1, or if they do something different, but I don't know at this point. All I know is that I think there's going to be a Switch Mini, and I think it's going to be announced sometime this year. So what do you guys think about all the different topics that we discussed here? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Go and check out the links in the description below. We got Facebook and Twitter. Go and give us a like and a follow on our social media. Hit that like button if you did like this video. Let me know you guys want more content like this going forward in the future, and subscribe to PlayerEssence for latest RPG, Japanese, and Nintendo gaming news. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.